Thank you very much, Magnifico Rettore, for your kind words. President Mattarella, it's such an honor and a pleasure to be with you in your hometown. Minister Banini, representatives of the Sicilian institutions, dear professors, cari studenti, it is such a pleasure to be with you in the beautiful city of Palermo, one of the capitals of the Mediterranean, one of the cradles of European culture. And what an honor to celebrate with you 217 years of history for the University of Palermo. We are meeting on a very special day for Europe. 1 year ago, tomorrow, Russia launched its brutal invasion of Ukraine. And seen from Sicily, this may look like a faraway conflict. It is not. The young people of Ukraine share the same desires as all young Europeans like you. They want to be independent. They want to be masters of their own future. They want to live in a democratic country that gives freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of movement. And this is why young Ukrainians wrapped themselves in a European flag and took to the streets in 2014. And the answer came immediately. In reaction, Putin invaded their country for the first time. Then, 8 years later, on February 24th in 2022, Putin invaded Ukraine again, and he's very clear in his message. Putin denies Ukraine the right to exist. And in attacking Ukraine 1 year ago, by sending tanks over the border, an international recognized border, he also attacked the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity. He attacked the principles of democracy, freedom, independence, the rule of law, not the right of might. For it is the attractiveness of our liberal democracies that the autocrats fear, our economic success, our civil liberties, and the freedom of speech and ideas. And that is why the brave Ukrainian people are not only defending their own country, but they are also fighting for our values. That is why we will stand by Ukraine for as long as it takes. Libertà per l'Ucraina. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is often in the darkest hours that we find our inner strength. And this is what's happening in our European Union. The last 3 years have probably been the most testing ever for Europe. First, with the pandemic and its economic fallout, we tend to forget. Then with this atrocious war and the spike in the cost of living. But these crises have taught us something important. We have learned that our destinies as Europeans are tied together. For example, during the pandemic, when we procured vaccines, we made sure that they reached all of Europe at the same time, for the same price, whether it's a big member state or a small member state, whether it's a rich member state or not so rich member state. When we built our recovery plan, Next Generation EU, you call it PNRR, we focused first and foremost on the regions and sectors in greatest need of our support. And when Russia turned off the gas tap, making our energy bills much more expensive, skyrocketing prices, we responded with European solidarity, sharing gas, protecting the most vulnerable families and businesses. This is the kind of Europe I believe in, a union that always stands by its people. And it is this idea of Europe that brings me to Sicily today. Sicily has always been the center of the Mediterranean, a place where different cultures meet and meddle together. This is the home of grand Greek temples and shiny Byzantine mosaics. It's a land shaped by Normans and Arabs. It's the home of brilliant minds like Luigi Pirandello and Luca Parmitano. And this unique Sicilian heritage has made Palermo a European capital of culture, of art, of science, listening to you, Rettore. And today I finally understand the words of my compatriot, Goethe, who wrote, "Once you see Palermo, you will never forget it." But I also know that in your daily life, you feel sometimes far away from the heart of Europe. Today I'm here to tell you that Sicily is at the center of Europe. Sicily is in the core of the European project. And even more, the quote I gave you from Goethe goes on to say, "Sicily holds the key to all things." End of quote. And these words are still true today. Because this beautiful island is absolutely central to addressing some of the greatest issues of our times. First, for the transition to clean energy. Second, for migration. And third, for building an economy that works for Europe's next generation. So let me start with the transition to clean energy. I know how much your generation cares about climate, and you are so right. No task is more vital than stopping global warming. So I am delighted to see that today you're opening your academic year with a focus on sustainability. 3 years ago, when I took this mandate as President of the European Commission, my first act was to launch the European Green Deal. And since then, the urgency of the clean transition has only grown stronger. When Putin started preparing the invasion of Ukraine, he blackmailed us with our dependency on Russian fossil fuels. And yes, there was a strong over-dependency on Russian coal, on Russian oil, and on Russian gas. The impact of him tightening the grip on energy was felt all across Europe, including, of course, Sicily. But we have managed to break free from our dependency and from his blackmail. We have together replaced Russian gas with reliable supplies, for example, from our friends in the United States, or Norway, or Algeria. We have massively invested in renewable, clean energy. Italy has cut its imports of Russian gas by 2/3 in record time. Actually, in Europe, we reduced the import of Russian gas by 80% in 8 months. And as a result of this effort and of this unity in the European Union, prices for gas today are lower than before the Russian war started. But our work doesn't end here. This is now the moment to speed up rapidly the transition to homegrown clean renewables. Because renewables are not only good for the climate, yes, they are good for the climate, but as they are homegrown, they create good jobs here. They are also good for our security and for our independence. And Sicily can become a European clean energy powerhouse. Not only do you have an abundance of sun and wind, of course, on this island, and it's all about resources, but you also have a strong clean tech industrial basis. Earlier this month, construction works have begun right here in Sicily for the largest solar gigafactory in Europe. It will build a new generation of solar panels. Next Generation EU, our European Recovery Plan, is contributing to its funding. Because we know that clean energy is the future. And this future is made here in Sicily. It's in your hands, and Europe needs you. Sicily is central to our energy transition, also for another reason. Right in front of your shores lies another clean energy powerhouse, and that is Africa. Africa's potential is immense for solar, for wind power, and for green hydrogen too. So Europe must reach out to the southern shores, and Sicily is the natural bridge builder. Since the beginning of the Russian war, Italy has done an impressive job with African partners to diversify its energy supply. And our union is creating new connections with Africa through our Global Gateway Investment Plan. For instance, we are now financing a new undersea electricity cable between Sicily and Tunisia. So time has come for a new European pivot to the Mediterranean. The second issue I'd like to address is migration. Sicily today is both a land of immigration and of emigration. On the one hand, you have welcomed through the years countless people who have landed on your shores. On the other hand, so many young people like you have chosen to leave and follow their dreams elsewhere, because this is what migration is all about. It's about searching for opportunities, it's about dreams. And yet, too often, for people who fall into the dirty hands of smugglers and traffickers, the dreams turn into a nightmare. And this is not how things should be. Think, for example, about the humanitarian corridors that have been created right here in Sicily by churches and local communities. It's a safe alternative for those who flee from war. And this model can be supported by the European Union. There is a basic principle that should drive our action, and that is that migration can be managed. We need to have safe pathways to reach Europe for those who have a right to protection. We have to fight the smugglers and the traffickers and stop this tragic loss of life. We need to speak with our partner countries, work with them on the return of those who do not have the right to stay. And we must cooperate at the European level. Europe must show solidarity to all member states and local communities. And all member states should act together for a challenge we all share. This is essentially the spirit of the new Pact for Migration and Asylum, which we have proposed. And earlier this month, the meeting of European leaders has recognized a very simple fact, but it took 10 years to acknowledge it. Migration is a European challenge, and it needs a European answer. We must all do our part, and we all need each other's support. So we now have a plan, which we need to take forward together. A European solution is possible, and I will work as hard as possible to reach this goal. A European system that works for Sicily and for all of Europe. My third and final point has to do with you, the young people in the audience. I believe my generation's greatest responsibility is to leave Europe a better place for the next generation. You, dear Rector, have just mentioned the beautiful quote by Hans Jonas on the imperative of responsibility for future generations. And this is first and foremost about climate action. But it is also about building an economy that works for young people. Because it is not always the case today. 1 young person in 3 does not work or study. Less than 1 woman in 3 has a job. So it is clear that things must change. And this is why we called our recovery plan Next Generation EU. Because it is all about making Europe fit for the next generation. It is all about opportunity and new sustainable jobs throughout our union. Italy is the largest beneficiary of this huge investment program, 200 billion euros. The Bank of Italy says the plan will create 375,000 new jobs in your country. And at least 40% of Italy's PNRR plan is coming to southern Italy. With these investments and reforms, Sicily can become a land for young people. This region is home of so much talent. I listen to you, Rettore. Sicily performs way above the European average for the quality of your scientific publications, even if research and development investments here are way below the average. So it's time to invest in you. For instance, we are now financing 240 new posts for researchers and PhD students right here at the University of Palermo. And there is one of your projects I really care about, being a medical doctor by training. You're putting a very strong focus on healthcare, creating the first center in Italy on digital health prevention. So this is great news, not only for young and aspiring doctors, but for all people in Sicily. Next Generation EU is also investing in a new chips factory close to Catania. It will be the first of its kind in Europe, the first. Here, it will produce chips that we currently import from Southeast Asia. And it will create 700 high-skilled jobs right here. These are the good jobs you are studying for, you are working so hard for. But of course, this job offer also has to be complemented by a broad supply of good childcare and good schools, because this is a precondition for young families. Young mothers and young fathers have to be able to reconcile work and family, because we should be so proud of young couples that take the responsibility and decide to raise children and to have a career, to earn their own income. We should not give them hurdles and criticism, but we should help them and we should be proud of them. This is the kind of opportunity that you deserve. And all of this is at the heart of Next Generation EU. We can make Europe the place of your dreams, because you are the ones who will carry on the torch of responsibility. And I'm confident that you will rise to the challenge. President Mattarella, there's a quote from your brother that really strikes me. He believed that Italy and Europe have a responsibility to help southern Italy transform itself. But he also said, and I quote, "Progress cannot be imposed from above. It needs to be driven by our hidden energy and enthusiasm," end of quote. And this is what makes me confident. You, the young people of Sicily, your passion, your ideas, your enthusiasm, your talent, your knowledge, you are the hidden energy of this island and its inner beauty. You make it Sicilia bella. So best luck for the academic year. Viva la Sicilia, viva l'Europa. Thank you.